What we were thinking about the crowds was planting some troublemakers.
You know, the only problem with because we thought about that. My only fear would be is if there was a ruckus caused, is that would scare the public into thinking maybe the governor's got to settle to avoid all these problems.
Governor Scott Walker still on the hot seat for admitting he thought about injecting goons into a peaceful Wisconsin protest. Well, tonight, a former Wisconsin attorney general is saying that's not all Scott Walker has to worry about on the legal front, and I'll talk to the former AG in just a moment. First, Scott Walker, he keeps trying to explain away those troublemakers.
Do you feel it's appropriate for the governor of the state of Wisconsin to, even for a moment, consider planning troublemakers in protests in order to change the political debate?
Well, clearly in our case, we rejected it. And the call anybody's listening.
Seriously considered?
Well, every day we get people that bring up ideas to us. That was one that we universally rejected. It was one of those that, again, people have listened to the call, listened to my statements, and brought up the fact that people have brought up all sorts of ideas. But that's the worst possible thing that can happen.
Folks, I got to tell you, I really like some names. He just throws it off. Well, you know, people, you know, we talked to some folks and they suggested it. Give me some names, dude. So you considered the worst possible thing that could happen before you dismissed it. And as the governor said to the fake Koch brother, the only reason he ditched the troublemaker plan was because he was worried that the politics, would probably backfire. Now that's, of course, everyone is now listening about it. Walker says he decided not to use troublemakers because of the strategy and ethics.
For us, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense from an ethical standpoint. It doesn't make any sense from a strategic standpoint.
Yeah, strategic standpoint. Joining me now is Peggy Lautenschlager. She is the former Wisconsin U.S. Attorney and former Wisconsin State Attorney General under Democratic Governor Jim Doyle. Ms. Lautenschlager, great to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much.
It's an honor to be with you, Ed.
You bet. Problem number one, as you see it, for Scott Walker at this hour, legally.
Well, I think there are a number of issues here. A lot of them are potential legal issues, but I think there are a couple that are important. Number one is the law in Wisconsin is still collective bargaining is the name of the game. And until the governor is capable of repealing that law, he has an obligation to bargain collectively with the public sector unions. What we're seeing today is that the governor not only has denied sitting at the bargaining table, an unfair labor practice in Wisconsin, but as well, the governor said today through his press spokesperson that he didn't have time for collective bargaining.
Okay.
So we have that issue.
All right, I want to talk about his possible legal problems. I mean, what problems could he face admitting that he was thinking about putting hoods in the crowd? I mean, for a lack of a better term. How do you see this?
I don't know that it's necessarily a legal problem, but it's certainly a moral and ethical problem for the incumbent governor, an elected official of a state, to acknowledge that he considered advocating violence for a political purpose that served himself and himself only is really pretty sad. And I think that the voters of the state, we saw it in a poll that came out today where he wouldn't have won the election if it were held today because people expect more from their elected officials. Okay. You know, this isn't Watergate era anymore.
How much of an ethical problem or a legal problem is this? Let's go back to the conversation where he accepted an invitation to go to California. Here it is.
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott. Once you crush these bastards, I'll fly you out to Cali and really show you a good time.
All right, that would be outstanding.
What about that?
Well, you know, Ed, I think that tells you where his mind is at. We may not have an act that's prosecutable there, but it tells you that this is a guy who feels like he should be able to get favors for doing something that billionaires want him to do.
But that's illegal.
And we saw that as well.
But isn't that illegal as the governor of Wisconsin, that he cannot use his office for any pleasure or personal gain, correct?
That's correct. But unfortunately, he hasn't gotten to California yet, and I don't know if he will. But, we'd like to send him there maybe. I'm not sure what Jerry Brown would think. But, we've got that issue. And then, of course, we have the issue where he's asked him to put money into the districts of Republican state senators who might face election challenges if they take a vote with him, because those senators know that the Wisconsin public doesn't favor this draconian legislation which he's introduced.
Now, AFSCME, in the state of Wisconsin, AFSCME today filed a complaint with the Wisconsin Employment Relations Commission. What can you tell us about that, and what does it mean?
Well, what it means is we've done two things, actually, Ed, and this is late-breaking news. I happen to be the lawyer for the Wisconsin State Employees Union, AFSCME Council 24, and we filed against him for an unfair labor practice of refusing to bargain collectively. We did that today in front of the Wisconsin Employment Relations Commission, but also at day's end, we filed a petition to seek a temporary injunction to keep our Capitol open to the people who own the Capitol, and we hope to have a hearing on that in the next day or two.
Well, would it be early tomorrow morning that you could get it to the bench in front of a judge?
We're hoping to get it as soon as possible. We have two possible judges who might be assigned the case. They said I should get on the phone with them at 8 o'clock in the morning. We need to serve our Department of Administration, Scott Walker's arm in keeping the Capitol closed.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll have a hearing on it tomorrow or the next day. We want that Capitol open so people can have their voices heard.
Well, I'm sure the conservatives will be whining about activist judges in Madison when you get that thing squared away. I want to ask you about the Milwaukee city attorney today issued a legal opinion that Walker's bill violates the state constitution. Have you seen this opinion, and does it hold any merit, any water? What do you think?
I have only skimmed through the opinion. I've discussed it with people who I respect as lawyers who understand our Constitution far better than most, and I think that they were very impressed with his opinion. The other thing you should keep in mind, too, Ed, is that Grant Langley is not one of these so-called liberals who everybody's talking about in Madison. He is a very conservative fellow who's respected for his thoughtfulness, even by those who are liberals, because he is so thoughtful. So even he's coming out and saying something about this.
Peg Lautenschlager, thanks for your time tonight here on The Ed Show. Appreciate it.